It is moments like this where I'm just like so thankful for all of the effort that we put into this garden. So much time, so much sweat, so much effort had to be put into getting this garden to where it's at. It's really, really cool to be in a state of abundance right now. So that's why I feel right now. I feel like I'm just super blessed with lots of healthy vegetables. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful day. That is because we're going out to the garden to do a big harvest. Well, big for me in my new garden. So I'm super excited just because it's really the first big harvest that we've done since expanding the garden and, you know, adding all of these new raised beds. I've got my big metal garden harvest plate and my scissors, so I'm ready to go. Oh my goodness, you guys, I just walked around in the garden and there's so much stuff that has been damaged from this huge storm that took place yesterday. We weren't here, we actually came back and I was like, what is going on? So there must have been like a lot of really high winds and lots of really heavy rain. A lot of stuff is like broken and down. So I'm gonna have to get all that stuff fixed and in order after I do all this harvesting. I think the harvesting will definitely help the vegetable plants because there's a lot of weight on them too. What I'm gonna do first is harvest all of the tomatoes. There are so many tomatoes, it's crazy. So these are my San Marzano Roma tomatoes. I've talked about them in a few videos. They are your ideal choice for your canning tomatoes, for sauces. Got some more over here. Lots and lots to grab. I don't even know where to start. More tomatoes. When they're starting to turn orange, I'm picking them because, you know, birds love them and I don't want anything bad to happen to them. When they're counter ripening for about 2 or 3 days, they get just as ripe and it's just fine. So it's time to start hacking away at the tons of grape tomatoes that need to be harvested. What I'm thinking is I'm gonna dry them out and do like sun-dried tomatoes because there's so many of these and I don't want them to go to waste at all. There's no way we're gonna eat all of these grape tomatoes because I already have like a few bowls of tomatoes in the house that we still need to eat too. I'm actually not 100% sure whether these are cherry or grape tomatoes, mostly because they're on the larger side. I've been growing these for a few years because they keep reseeding themselves, so I have no seed packet to reference. But whatever they are amazing producers and I love growing them. I'm here next to the eggplants. They are doing so good. Last season, I didn't get any eggplants because the ants were just like wreaking havoc. It is so awesome to now have lots of eggplants. I'm growing the Black Beauty eggplants. I'm also growing the long purple eggplants. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. We have a bunch of each. Cooking with them, I feel like it's like a meat substitute. They're so hearty. It's gonna make for a lot of really awesome meals and I've been looking up lots of really cool recipes. I'm here next to my itty bitty spoon tomatoes. There are so many of them to harvest. I can't believe how well this plant produces. These have been my favorite garnish so far this year. We've topped them on top of cheesy bread, pizza, pasta. They're basically like little peas, but they're tomatoes. It's awesome because there's not a ton of water content in there, but you get that burst of tomato flavor. Next thing on the harvest list is some of my beefsteak tomatoes. I have the mushroom basket tomatoes, and I also have these Plantano Romanesco tomatoes. I'll put it right here. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the way that that's pronounced, but yeah, I have a ton of those. They're all ready to go like at the same time. Imagine that. I will definitely need to get creative with ways to preserve these and eat them. So if anybody has any suggestions on how to preserve or utilize tons of tomatoes at one time, definitely I would appreciate it if you dropped a comment in the comment section. I'm loving growing this Roman heirloom variety from Italy, the Pantano Romanesco tomato. It has been such a treasure in my garden. A classic variety, the Cherokee purple tomato. Lots of color and depth to it. I love this tomato. These ones were the Cherokee tomatoes, and I believe these ones are the Plantano tomatoes. I wasn't sure at first, but I'm definitely sure now because these ones are like literally purple, and these are just like your regular kind of like red tomatoes. I'm starting to wonder what I'm gonna do with all of these tomatoes. The mushroom basket tomatoes are so beautiful. These are definitely my favorite ones. They taste so good and they look pink and all of the little like ribs on it. It's just a really cool tomato. I love growing these ones. It's been about 90 days, so I want to see if any of my purple carrots are ready to harvest. I absolutely love growing carrots. This is the black Nebula carrot. It is the darkest variety out there. It is absolutely loaded with antioxidants, vitamin C. It's supposed to retain lots of sweetness and be very heat tolerant, which is awesome for a Florida gardener. I have a ton of peppers to pick. I'm going to pick my Buena Mulata peppers and my Sugar Rush peppers. Sometimes peppers can be a bit challenging to grow, but the Sugar Rush and the Buena Mulata peppers have been such a joy. I'm also harvesting some of my sweet basil to cook with. I just picked my green beans from my cattle panel trellis, and it's doing super well. The thing about green beans is that you want to stay on top of picking them. If you don't pick them quickly, then the plant's going to think that it's done its job and it's going to start dying off basically. Pick them often and frequently. This massive harvest motivates me even more to become more self-sustainable and continue to grow our food security garden. Look at that! It is so much. There's so much stuff here. I don't even know where to begin. Like the amount of abundance, this is so awesome. I feel so blessed to have all of this. And the awesome problem that I have now is trying to figure out what to do with all of these vegetables. Not gonna let them go to waste. I just love having all these like beautiful pink tomatoes. Then we have your standard kind of like red grape tomatoes, eggplants, just wow, very blessed today. And I'm gonna go ahead and take these inside, figure out how I can utilize these, not waste them. I have my massive garden harvest. Super proud of my garden. It's just doing so well. It's really important to figure out ways to start using your harvest. You don't want it to go to waste, and it's not exactly practical to think that a family of 3 would be able to eat all of this in a week before all this kind of starts to spoil. I'm just going to show you a few different ways that I like to preserve my harvest so that we can continue to enjoy it at our pace. It is important to preserve them. Let's get on with it. First things first, we need to clean all of these vegetables. What I do is I use a couple of tablespoons of vinegar. I like to use apple cider vinegar, but white distilled vinegar will also work. It really helps with making sure all those bacteria are kind of stripped off of there. I just do a few tablespoons in like a regular size mixing bowl of water. So about like 3 or 4 tablespoons or so. Then I just make sure everything is really rinsed thoroughly and safe to eat. You would think this is a chore, but to me, it's so calming to be able to clean my vegetables, really analyze everything, and just take in the fruits of our labor. So I have just cleaned everything up. What I'm gonna do next is weigh everything. I like to compare it from season to season, and also to know, which variety of whatever vegetable that I'm growing is yielding a really good harvest. Which ones maybe not to pick the next season, because for me the whole point of vegetable gardening is to grow a lot of vegetables and limit the amount of vegetables that I have to buy at the grocery store. Of course I do like to grow some fun stuff, but that is definitely the purpose of weighing everything. I will be making a video at the end of the season to document exactly how much my full season harvest is, so I'm going to show you how much everything weighed today. This is where my true garden geek comes out. I love weighing all of the vegetables and just seeing how many pounds of this or that we harvested. Is a really cool feeling to be able to see, how much would this have cost at the grocery store to buy 8 ounces of grape tomatoes versus what I just harvested. So very fun for me to do. If there's something you've absolutely loved growing this year or that you swear by, I would love to hear from you guys. I'm always interested to try new things, grow new things, so drop a comment in the comment section below to let me know. I Just added everything up and I'm definitely amazed. I harvested about 16.34 pounds of vegetables. Wow, that is just like a really, really great feeling. So yeah, just gonna keep on gardening. The things that I'm not doing like a big preservation with are like all of my beefsteak tomatoes, my spoon tomatoes, my eggplants, and my carrots. We're just gonna eat those fresh, or I'm going to try to give them away. So I'm not gonna do any type of like preservation methods. I will be preserving the green beans and the grape tomatoes, as well as my San Marzano Roma tomatoes. And all of my peppers, I'm gonna hold on to those and find a way to cook with them, or I might make them into hot sauce later. I wanted to show you, this is just an example of how we use the spoon tomatoes. This is from last night's dinner, so it's not like super, you know, presentable looking. But anyways, we will just kind of dollop them on top, garnish them on top of like cheesy bread or pasta, and they make literally the most perfect garnish, especially if you want to make like a really good garlic bread or something like that. It just adds a little bit of pizzazz. So it's really easy to not let spoon tomatoes go to waste, because you can just like put them on top of a bunch of stuff. Most of these beefsteaks are not ready for the refrigerator. A few of them are, I mean, they're ready to eat, but what I want to do is allow them to ripen on the counter for about 2 to 3 days, no longer than that. That way they can really come into like their full ripeness. So for my San Marzano Roma tomatoes, I have a really easy way to preserve them until I'm ready to use them, because I want to wait until I have a bunch for a big batch of sauce. So let's get to it. They're pretty much all the way ripe. I'll just show you what I do. I have a few freezer bags. I actually already have 3 bags of these filled in my freezer. And what I do is I just shell out the seeds and cut off the top. That way it's less circular for storing in the freezer. We don't need the seeds for sauce, so I just go ahead and I get rid of those seeds and I put them in the bag. That way it can condense space in the freezer, and I just continue to add to the bag every time that I harvest. The cool part about doing this is that you have a bunch of seeds left on your cutting board. Really easy opportunity to save those seeds. I'm not going to save the seeds today because I've already saved like 1,000 San Marzano seeds, but it's just a really good way to not waste any part of the tomato. What I'm going to do is freeze my green beans. You just take the top part, you don't want to eat that part, and pop it off. And then I'm just gonna put it in a freezer Ziploc bag. So what I do is I put them in about like 5 or 6 ounce portions in the freezer. That way we can have it nice and portioned if we're using it for dinner. I've already used these for cooking, and it basically tasted like it was a fresh green bean. It really made no difference that it was already frozen. So I would definitely recommend freezing your green beans if you don't know how to can them. It's a really good option. So what we'll be doing next is making some sun-dried tomatoes in the oven. No fancy equipment needed. I'll show you the step-by-step process on that. It's a really great option to preserve your bulk amount of tomato harvest, making sure that you can enjoy them at your leisure. So I will show you how I do that right now. First, start by preheating your oven to 250 degrees and line a sheet pan with parchment paper, then cut all of your tomatoes in half. For me personally, once I'm done cutting them in half, I like to get all of the seeds and everything out of the middle. You can keep them in there. I think it's like a personal choice. I just don't think the seeds really add flavor or anything to them being sun-dried or the recipe once you're cooking with them. So I just shell out the seeds underwater. After you remove the seeds, place the tomatoes on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. Bake them at 250 degrees for about 2.5 to 3 hours. You'll want to flip them about halfway through. Remember, the oven is not an even dehydration, so watch the edges that they don't get too brown. To store, you can freeze or place in the refrigerator in a container of olive oil for 1 to 2 weeks. I just got the oven-dried, sun-dried tomatoes out of the oven. I'm gonna give them a try. They look super, super good. Lots of tomatoes are preserved and ready to use in lots of cool recipes. All in all, I would say that this was a big success. I have my sun-dried tomatoes. I have green beans in the freezer, some Roma tomatoes in the freezer. So yeah, this was really a great way to start out the harvest season. If you want to learn more, see more, definitely be sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any future upcoming videos. All right, thank you so much for watching.